The ocean was calm, the night it swallowed Ariana Torres's parents. The family boat, the Andromeda, drifted silently under a sky full of stars, anchored just off the craggy coastline near their summer cottage in Maine. The wind was soft, whispering secrets. The salt clung to Ariana's hair as she lay on the bow, feet dangling over the side. She was 15. Her mother, Elena, was below deck making cocoa. Her father, Captain Raul Torres, a decorated Navy veteran, was fiddling with the radio equipment. Never fully gave up the sailor's instinct to stay tuned in. That night felt perfect, until it wasn't. A scream pierced the air, then silence, then fire. Ariana stumbled as the boat lurched violently. The bow dipped hard, throwing her off her feet. There was no warning, no storm, no alarm. Just the sickening groan of the boat's belly and the sudden reek of diesel fuel. She rushed toward the hatch. "Mom? Dad?" Smoke poured out. A loud bang cracked through the cabin, and flames surged upward from the engine room. She couldn't get in. The water was black and cold as she jumped. Salt filled her mouth, lungs screaming. She swam toward shore, away from the inferno, and when she looked back, the Andromeda was gone. So were her parents. Present day, Naval Station Norfolk. Virginia Lieutenant Commander Ariana Torres stood straight, crisp in uniform, eyes fixed forward. She didn't blink as the names of new Navy fatalities were read out during morning assembly. Her discipline was legend, not because she was cold, but because she couldn't afford to break. Every drop of her strength came from the sea, the very sea that had taken everything. After her parents' deaths, Ariana was sent to live with her mother's only sibling, Uncle Marcus. A widower, reclusive, odd. He lived in a big, creaking house near Bar Harbor, filled with taxidermy and locked rooms. He never hit her, never shouted, but something about him always felt wrong. Cold hands, a door that never fully opened, and a look in his eyes when she asked questions about her parents' boat. "The current got 'em, sweetheart," he always said. "That sea, she don't forgive mistakes." But Ariana remembered the flames. She remembered metal shrapnel, too sharp to be from an engine failure. She remembered seeing a second boat in the distance just before impact. The Navy became her escape and her weapon. By 22, she was one of the youngest officers selected for cryptologic warfare. Her job: intercept encrypted threats, trace signal patterns, decode hostile intentions before anyone knew they existed. She served with honor, decorated twice, never complained. But late at night, she'd lie awake, staring at the base ceiling, replaying her parents' last moments. And one question kept clawing at her soul: what if it wasn't an accident? The answer came on a quiet Tuesday. Her unit intercepted an encrypted message flagged as part of an illegal maritime smuggling route off the Florida coast. Just a routine decryption task. Until she saw one phrase: delivery via ghost channel, Bar Harbor route used before 2012 incident. Repeat: use same path as Raul's boat. Raul's boat. Her father. The file wasn't just old Navy chatter, it was a live transmission between two unidentified vessels discussing a known smuggling route, and whoever sent it knew about the Andromeda. Ariana froze. That night in Maine had just been mentioned in Code B men trafficking weapons 10 years later, and that could only mean one thing. Her parents' deaths weren't random. They were covered up. She ran the sender's ID through the Navy's shadow database. No hits. But the return frequency bounced once off a civilian server in Maine, registered to Marcus Holloway, her uncle, the man who raised her, the man who watched her bury her mother, the man who told her to let the past rest. He was still using encrypted maritime channels illegally, and he knew the path her parents died on. Ariana sat alone in her quarters, her heart slamming against her ribs. The betrayal hit deeper than any battlefield. "He didn't just lie," she whispered. "He helped kill them for the first time in a decade." Her stillness cracked. Tears fell, hands shook. Rage, grief, and disbelief churned like a storm in her blood. But she wouldn't scream. She wouldn't run to the Navy just yet. She would do what she'd been trained for. Observe, intercept, destroy. The glowing green terminal in front of Ariana scrolled with intercepted transmissions, most of them dull and repetitive. Rogue vessels, pirate chatter, black market fuel deals. But her eyes didn't blink. She wasn't just scanning for patterns, she was hunting. Hunting a ghost transmissiona, buried voice that had surfaced just once in a decade. A line buried in static, almost poetic, "Use Raoul's route." Like before, she had copied the file onto a private, encrypted flash drive, the kind she wasn't allowed to own as an officer. If caught, she'd be court-martialed. But this wasn't about loyalty to a uniform anymore. This was personal. Encrypted log, access, civilian node, Imha Shipping LLC, location trace, Bar Harbor, Maine. The same Maine company that supposedly shut down after Raoul and Elena's deaths was still receiving pingbacks from overseas, coordinates aimed exactly with known arms shipments flagged by Homeland. The node belonged to Marcus Holloway. She stared at his name, her mother's brother, her guardian. He had never hugged her, never asked her how she was doing after the accident, just raised her like a formality, cold, stiff, distant. And now he was operating like an intelligence cell. Why? What the hell was he doing? She had to go back. But not as Ariana the niece, not as a Navy officer either. She'd go as someone in between, armed with tech, silence, and just enough rage to stay smart. 3 days later, Maine coastline, her boots hit the gravel path of her childhood like an unwanted memory. The wind still howled through the pine trees. The sea still smelled of iron and salt, but her spine straightened at the sight of it. The Holloway house, same rusted gates, same black shutters, same garden, except this time, no signs of life. He wasn't expecting her. Perfect. She used her Navy field scanner to pick up any nearby satellite activity. A faint signal flickered. There it was, an uplink device buried in the fishing shed near the back of the property. Civilian on the surface. But the hardware? Military grade. She slipped into the shed. It was dark, lined with tools and sea junk. The scanner led her to a covered panel beneath old crab pots. She pulled the tarp back. A thin, dust-covered uplink antenna pointed toward the sea. "What the hell are you transmitting, Marcus?" She connected a pocket decryption drive. The data flow was faint, but there. Coordinates, ship numbers, drop locations, encrypted by hand. This wasn't smuggling, this was intelligence laundering. Footsteps outside. She yanked the drive, pocketed it, and slipped behind the door. "Hello?" His voice. Marcus Holloway. Older, grayer, but his walk was still silent, calculating. He paused outside the shed. No expression, no suspicion, just turned, then walked back toward the house. She held her breath, heart hammering. If he found her, he'd kill her, not out of fear but because she knew. That night, she booked a motel under a false name. Using her Navy cryptographic tools, she scanned the stolen data again and buried in a hidden archive an old intercepted Navy report marked classified. Recovered body, female, approx. 40 years. Cause of death drowning. However, injuries consistent with blunt trauma to the skull. Estimated time of death, 7 hours after boat explosion. 7 hours. Her mother didn't die in the blast. She survived. Tried to swim, tried to make it, but someone finished the job. Ariana couldn't breathe. She dropped to her knees, head spinning. He left her in the water, she whispered. Or worse, he found her. For 10 years, she had carried survivor's guilt. Now she carried something heavier. Vengeance. And Marcus? He wasn't just going to lose his freedom. He was going to drown in what he did. Bar Harbor, Maine. Holloway Estate, 2 days later. The front porch groaned under her boots, just like it used to when she was 15. The shutters were still black. The brass knocker still shaped like an eagle's head. Everything had been preserved, including the lies. Ariana rang the bell. No response. She knocked once. Then the door creaked open, not electronically, not dramatically, just casually, like someone had been watching her from behind. Ariana? His voice was the same, gravelly, unreadable. I wasn't expecting visitors. She offered a tight smile. I was in Boston on a naval review. Thought I'd stop by. Marcus Holloway stood tall in his worn flannel and jeans, his silver beard trimmed to perfection. His cold blue eyes scanned her uniform, her face, her body language like he was measuring her for a casket. Then suddenly, warmth. Too much warmth. Come in, girl. You still remember your room, don't you? Inside, everything was the same. Same creaky staircase, same clock ticking on the mantel, same photographs on the hallway wall, except something was missing. Ariana noticed it instantly. The picture of her parents, Elena and Raul, smiling in their navy whites, was gone. Where's the photo of Mom and Dad? Marcus didn't flinch. Must have gotten ruined in the basement flood. Mold eats memories faster than time, you know. He walked away before she could ask more. Liar. As he made her tea in the kitchen, Ariana slipped out her military-grade flash probe, disguised as a keychain. She walked into his office quietly and plugged it into the back of his router. Less than 3 seconds. Device sync. 100% remote mirroring enabled. Now, every file, email, encrypted text, even his keystrokes were hers. She walked out just as he returned with 2 steaming mugs. "To old family," he said, raising a cup. "To answers," she replied. Their eyes locked. He knew something, and she knew everything. Later that night, in her old bedroom, the same floral wallpaper, the same bookshelf, the same dresser, she sat quietly, watching a real-time mirror of Marcus's laptop from her encrypted tablet. He was online, chat window open, username, silver flag. Recipient, Kraken, Vlad text. "The signal's been pinged. She's digging. We'll handle if needed, just like her mother." Ariana froze. just like her mother. He did find Elena that night. He knew she was alive, and he handled it. Her hands shook, but her mind stayed sharp. He's still running ops, still connected to the same black market network. And I'm his next problem. But she wasn't her mother. She was trained. She was dangerous. And she had a plan. The next morning, Marcus suggested a walk down by the shore, the same cliffs where the Andromeda exploded. As they walked, he told stories of her father, of how much he admired the sea, of how grief changes us. She let him talk. Every word, every glance, every silence, she logged it all. Then he stopped at a certain rock formation. "This is where we found debris and your mother's life jacket." He looked out at the waves. "You ever think maybe some people drown themselves? Not in water, but in memories." She didn't answer. She just stared at him. The wind howled, just like it had that night so many years ago. He smiled again, that strange, too soft smile, and for the first time in her life, Ariana knew without a shadow of doubt he was daring her. That night, she opened the real trap. Her probe had copied a digital map hidden deep inside a protected archive. Not just smuggling routes, drop-off locations, international arms deals, Navy surveillance blind spots. And at the center of every major link, MH Holdings. "Marcus Holloway, you raised me with silence, uncle," she whispered to the screen. "But I learned to speak the language of war. And this time, it would be his house that burned. Bar Harbor, 1:17 a.m. Holloway Marine Storage Facility, Dock 9. The night was ink, black fog, rolling in from the bay like a ghost army. Ariana stood by the old chain-link fence in civilian clothes-dark jeans, hoodie, gloves, no badge, no Navy. This wasn't official, this was war. The shipyard used to be a boat repair zone. Now, Marcus Holloway listed it under marine imports, but there were no commercial deliveries here, no workers, no taxes filed in over 4 years, just satellite pings, encrypted deliveries, disappearing containers. She clipped the fence with bolt cutters. The security lights flickered once, then off. Her signal jammer worked. She moved quickly past crates and rusted engines toward the warehouse with the red X spray painted on its side. Her heart beat steady. Get in, get proof, get out. Inside the warehouse, stacks of crates, marked medical supplies, sealed tight, fresh labels. She cracked one open, not gauze, not syringes. Guns, Russian, made. Illegal, serials filed off. One crate after another, all identical. She snapped photos with her encrypted Navy phone. Proof, enough to bury Marcus in a courtroom for life. But something else caught her eye. A locked metal cabinet. She picked it, slowly, silently. Inside, an old iPad. 3 external hard drives, a bundle of letters and photos wrapped in a plastic sleeve. She pulled out the bundle, her blood froze. A picture of her mother, dated July 2012. Not at sea, in a hospital bed, bruised, alive. Caption, subject, Ariana Torres, status, sedated. Location, HH Bernard Psychiatric, Bangor. Ariana fell back against the metal wall. They kept her alive. And then a hospital record. Date of discharge, August 4, 2012. Next of kin, sign out. Marcus Holloway. He signed her out himself. Her mother didn't drown. She survived. She was drugged. Then handed over to the man who killed her husband. Rage surged in Ariana's veins. She flipped through the rest of the bundle. Letters, records, even a forged death certificate with her mother's name misspelled Elena. Spelled Elena. A fake document to close the file legally. All orchestrated by Marcus. Suddenly footsteps. 2 voices outside. Male, armed. Boss said to double check. Someone jammed the fence signal. Ariana dove behind the crates, clutching the iPad and files. She held her breath as the warehouse door creaked open. Flashlights swept across crates. One beam landed on the broken lock of the cabinet. Shit, someone was here. Ariana held her pistol tight. Navy issued, but unregistered. She didn't come here to kill. But she wouldn't die tonight either. The 2 men split up. One walked past her. The other turned back toward the door. She crept silently, like she'd been trained on naval drills. Shadow to shadow. She reached the side exit, slipped out, ran full speed across the dock, through the fog. Gun drawn, breath silent. She didn't stop until she reached the pine line of the forest. She turned back once and saw it. Marcus, standing by a black SUV just outside the dock gates. Not shocked, not worried, smiling. He knew she'd come, and he let her leave. 2:38 a.m. Safe House Motel. Her hands trembled as she uploaded the photos and files onto her secure drive. There was no more doubt, no more mystery. Marcus had killed her father and kept her mother hidden. Drugged, tortured, killed her slowly. Why? To take over Raoul's marine routes? To silence Elena's suspicions? Or because he simply could? Whatever the reason, Ariana wasn't just a daughter anymore. She was judge, jury, executioner. And next time, she wouldn't sneak in. She'd bring the storm with her. Safe House Motel. 3:12 a.m. The rain tapped gently against the window, a mocking rhythm in the silence. Ariana hadn't slept since returning from the shipyard. Her hands were shaking not from fear but from the emotional storm now tearing her open from the inside. Her mother had survived the explosion. Her mother had been institutionalized, drugged, hidden, erased. By Marcus, the man who raised her, the man who told her to forget the past, the man who, for over a decade, had sat at family dinners with blood on his hands. He didn't just kill them, he rewrote history. But history leaves fingerprints, and Ariana was done being afraid of ghosts. She laid out everything she had on the motel bed. The iPad from the warehouse, the forged death certificate, letters signed in initials, MH. And at the bottom of the bundle, a photo. Old, faded. Ariana nearly missed it. The photo, it was folded in half. On one side, her mother, Elena, smiling in front of a fishing boat, arms around Ariana, maybe 10 years old. On the other, a man partially cropped out, white shirt, gold chain, sunglasses. The photo had a handwritten caption, "Last safe day, July 7, one day before she knew." Ariana stared at the date. One day before the accident, her pulse spiked. She flipped the image, enhanced it with her naval image clean software. Zoom, enhance. There it was on the cropped man's hand, a tattoo, a ship's wheel wrapped with a serpent. She froze. It wasn't Marcus's tattoo. It belonged to someone else. Someone from her father's naval past. She opened the image archive from the stolen hard drive. Hundreds of photos, shipping logs, doc signatures, most coded, but a few clear. She used facial matching AI to scan the tattooed man's face from the photo. Match found 80, 1%. Thomas Delgado, ex-Navy, discharged for illegal cargo trafficking. Last known connection: Holloway Holdings, 2011, 2012. Thomas Delgado, her father's former second-in-command on civilian routes, rumored dead. But this photo, this clue placed him at their dock the day before the explosion. And not alone, he was with her mother. She met with Delgado, Ariana whispered. She found out, and she tried to stop them. Maybe Elena confronted Delgado about the smuggling route. Maybe she threatened to go to the Navy, and Marcus found out. That's why the boat exploded. It wasn't an accident. It was a preemptive execution. Back at the laptop, she reopened the old psychiatric files from Char Bernard Psychiatric. One entry stood out. Subject continues to repeat name, Delgado. Reports of water trauma. Night terrors. Repeats. He warned me. I didn't listen. Her mother had known the truth, and they silenced her. Ariana leaned back against the motel wall. Tears came, slow, silent. I could have saved her, but she pushed the guilt down. This wasn't the time to break. This was the time to hunt. 9:00 a.m. Naval Base Comm Center, remote access. She logged into the secure black site network under a pre-authorized Navy backdoor. Her clearance was still valid for now. She initiated a ghost trace. Search term: Delgado Thomas, alias, transfers. Asset list: maritime black flag ops. The system returned a shocking hit. Delgado was alive, living under a new identity in Baltimore, Maryland, working for a private contractor front company for offshore intelligence laundering. Last contact: 3 months ago. Recipient: M. Holloway. Ariana's breath hitched. He's still working with him. Her uncle's old accomplice. Her mother's last warning. A man she thought was buried under waves. Delgado was the last thread, and she was going to pull it until everything unraveled. Baltimore, Maryland. 11 days later. Facility: Portwell Global Logistics, private maritime security contractor. Ariana stared at the gleaming glass tower that stood at the edge of Baltimore Harbor. Portwell was supposed to be a security firm, maritime risk assessment, and vessel escort services. But to those who knew better, it was a disposal site for dishonored ex-military and intelligence assets, clean uniforms for dirty business. Thomas Delgado worked here, under the name Tom Dayton. She wasn't in uniform. She wore a fitted black business suit, aviators, heels, and a forged Navy credentials badge clipped to her hip. Her alias: Lieutenant Commander Ellen Drake, Security Risk Auditor, Navy Region Mid-Atlantic. Always use a name that sounds too boring to question, her mentor once told her. She crossed the lobby like she belonged there. Morning. I'm here for a scheduled audit of subcontractor files, she told the desk guard. The guard checked his list. She wasn't on it. She leaned forward, lowered her voice. Want me to call Admiral Cross about why your base can't even keep one mid-level appointment secured? He blinked, panicked. No, ma'am. No need. You're clear to go up. 3rd floor. Internal operations. The hallway smelled like over-oiled leather and cheap air freshener. Navy emblems on fake plaques hung on the walls. Staged patriotism over real corruption. She found Delgado's name on an office door. Tom Dayton, Senior Logistics Director. The door was slightly ajar. She eased it open and slipped in. Inside, clean desk. No family photos, no clutter. Just a laptop, a locked file cabinet, and a single framed newspaper clipping from 2013. Shipping magnate Raul Torres, wife die in boating accident. Ariana's hands clenched. He kept the article. She pulled on gloves and scanned the office for listening bugs. Clean. Then she plugged in her mini scraper into his terminal. 20%, 45%, 67%. Her heart hammered. Every second was a risk. Just give me something, Delgado. At 94%, the screen lit up. Incoming email subject. Operation Clean Wake, Phase 3 confirmation. From M. Holloway Body. Meeting in person no longer advised. She's circling too close. If she learns about 8-12, everything burns. Consider final measure. Final measure 8-12. That was the date of Elena's forged death certificate. Delgado knew he still worked with Marcus, and he was planning something. Suddenly a voice behind her. You Navy types, always walking like you own the place. She turned slowly. Thomas Delgado. He was older now, beard trimmed, thicker, but those eyes, still shock-like, empty. Who the hell are you? He asked, eyes darting to her ID badge. I could ask you the same, Tom. Or should I say, Thomas Delgado? He froze. She slid her aviators off. He went pale. You? That's right, Ariana Torres, Raul and Elena's daughter. She drew her pistol fitted with a silencer. Don't scream. No one in this building will hear you, and you already know what I'm capable of. His hand inched toward his belt. She fired. One shot right into his thigh. He collapsed to the floor, yelling. You tried to kill my family, she said, crouching over him. You helped cover up their murder. You drugged my mother. It wasn't supposed to go that way, he gasped. She was just gonna be quieted, not killed, but Holloway, he wanted her gone for good. She threatened everything. Ariana leaned closer. And you? You just followed orders, right? He spit blood. They paid me to disappear. I took the money, walked away. I never laid a hand on your mom. But you watched it happen. You don't get it, girl, he hissed. She wasn't just digging into Marcus. She was digging into the Navy. Your father knew about it too. They were going to blow the lid off a secret operation on your government buried. That boat wasn't just a hit, it was a cleanup job. Ariana's skin went cold. You're saying my father was silenced too? Delgado nodded, eyes flickering. He had the documents. Your mother had the names. Marcus just lit the match. Sirens outside. Someone tripped a silent alarm. She stood quickly, wiped her fingerprints from the desk, yanked the USB drive, and fired another shot, this one into the window. She dove through the shattered glass, landing on a lower awning, rolled, dropped to the pavement below. limbs bruised, adrenaline alive. She disappeared into the alley as guards stormed the building. 2 hours later, train out of Baltimore. She watched the city disappear behind her. In her backpack, the full download from Delgado's computer, audio confession, medical records, one name, Operation Clean Wake, classified, Joint Navy, Private Asset Laundering Initiative, deactivated 2013, lead investigator, Raul Torres. Her father had been murdered not just by family, but by the same system he served. And Marcus? He was the bridge between both worlds. Ariana didn't cry. Not yet. There would be time to break after the war was over. Bar Harbor, July 14th, 3:47 a.m., cliffs overlooking Holloway Bay. The tide was higher than she remembered. Ariana stood at the edge of the very cliff where it had all started, where the night sky had cracked with fire, where her childhood ended, and where her mother, Ariana Torres, had made her last attempt to survive. The wind howled through the pine trees behind her like ghosts trying to speak. She closed her eyes and let the past return. Flashback, July 8th, 2012, 1:12 a.m. The Andromeda floats in darkness. A small auxiliary boat, black hulled, unmarked, approaches slowly from the southeast. 2 men on board. One of them is Delgado. Inside Andromeda, Elena is arguing with Raul. "We have to go to the press if the Navy won't act. They'll kill us, Elena. We have a daughter to think about." Outside, Marcus's voice crackles through a shortwave radio. "Take the girl below deck, cut the fuel line, then signal a pause, burn the evidence." Present 2025. Ariana's eyes snapped open, breath shallow, throat dry. "You watched her beg," she whispered into the wind. "You stood here and watched her drown." She took a small silver urn from her bag, Elena's ashes. They weren't originally in the urn. Her mother had been buried in an unmarked grave under the wrong name. Ariana had had the body exhumed after confirming DNA, quietly, illegally. She had carried her mother's remains here, to the last place Elena was truly free. She stepped to the cliff's edge, her boots sinking slightly into the wet moss. "I brought you home, Mum." She twisted open the lid and let the ashes pour into the sea, one handful at a time. With each handful, her voice was stronger. "They tried to erase you. They called you crazy. But you were brave. You fought them, and you were right. I see it now." She paused before tossing the last handful. "And now, I'm going to finish what you started." She let the final ashes go. The wind carried them, spreading silver dust across the waves. The sea shimmered for a brief moment, peaceful, then gone. 1 hour later, local records archive Ariana slid a USB drive into the county terminal using the alias Dr. Lena Hart. She searched for hospital records, newspaper articles, even blog posts from 2012. Most had been scrubbed. But in a forgotten coastal blog, Bar Harbor Fishers Watch, she found it. July 9, 2012. Woman found on shore, refuses to speak, taken to Bernard Psychiatric for evaluation, Coast Guard silent. Photo attached. The image was grainy, but it was her mother. Hair soaked, lips split, eyes distant, wrapped in a blanket, alive. "They covered it up so sloppily," she muttered. The post had only been up for 18 minutes before it was pulled. And the blog writer reported missing 4 days later. Ariana leaned back in the chair. The corruption ran deeper than just Marcus and Delgado. This was systemic, military-backed, silenced with money, threats, and blood. Her father had tried to bring it to light. Her mother had nearly survived it. And she would expose it all, but not by leaking, not yet. She would take everything from Marcus first, this network, his reputation, his money, his soul. Then she'd burn the entire lie. Later that day, back at the Holloway estate, she returned as if nothing had changed. Marcus opened the door slowly, a glass of brandy in hand. Back so soon? Needed some air. This place still clears my head. He smiled that cold, calculated smile again, glad to hear it. But this time, Ariana smiled back, because now she knew. Now she had the files. Now she had the map. And now she knew exactly what to destroy next. "Let's have dinner tonight," she said sweetly. "For old time's sake." He nodded, closing the door behind her. "Let's." And Ariana walked into the lion's den, with fire in her veins. Location: Anacostia. Bowling joint base, cyber intelligence, wing time, 4 days later. The dim blue glow of code scrolled endlessly across the triple monitor setup. Each screen flickered with real-time feeds, signal traces, and server backdoor exploits. In the corner of the basement-level lab, a woman chewed mint gum and never blinked. Her name, Petty Officer, First Class Layla. Ghost Darnell. Code name Seraphim. Role Discreet Navy, Cyber, Ops. Status off the books. Ariana stood behind her, arms crossed. "You owe me," Layla smirked. "I owe you 1 prison break in Honduras and a lifetime of silence about Rio. And I haven't cashed it in until now." Layla leaned back in her chair, stretched, and gestured at the hard drive Ariana had just handed her. "You're not supposed to have this. Neither are you." They exchanged a knowing look. "Let's light some fires." 5 hours later. Decryption complete. "This is not just smuggling," Layla whispered, scanning the logs. "Bank transfers, black market arms deals, encrypted communications with naval officers, and worst of all, detailed logs of transfer protocols for human cargo. Victims, women, children, civilians, trafficked, disposed. Jesus," Layla whispered. "This is a damn war crime network." The name Marcus Holloway was everywhere. So were aliases, burner accounts, even politicians. But one document stood out. File name, Operation Cleanwake 812. Status: redacted, linked to Raul Torres, Elena Torres, SGT, James Wilder, Kia. "Who's Wilder?" Ariana asked. Layla searched. Answer: Marine Sergeant James Wilder. Died under suspicious circumstances 2 days after warning military command about illegal weapons being rerouted through Maine. Another name, another death. Layla paused, then opened a compressed folder tagged Subject, Tango, Widow. Inside, a scanned letter. A photo of a grieving mother standing alone at a Marine funeral, and one handwritten note in Elena's cursive. She tried to warn them too. They silenced her boy. Ariana leaned in, eyes narrowing. "Do we know who she is? Give me an hour." 1 hour later, Columbia Heights, Washington, D.C. Ariana knocked on the apartment door of Mrs. Patricia Wilder, age 61, retired nurse. She answered slowly, eyes weary, voice trembling. Are you another one from the VA? I've told them I don't want blood money. I'm not with the VA, Ariana said. I'm Elena Torres's daughter. Silence. Then Patricia gasped, covering her mouth. Elena. She wrote me a letter. She said they were coming after her too. Then she vanished. Ariana gently handed her the scanned letter, and the file showing James Wilder's death was no accident. Patricia broke down, and when she looked up, her eyes weren't weak anymore. They were burning. Later that night, at Layla's safe house, the three women sat at a table littered with laptops, blueprints, hard drives, and burner phones. A Navy hacker, a military widow, and a daughter raised by her enemy. Together, they launched Operation Widow's Wake. The plan: Layla would breach Holloway's offshore accounts and route laundering logs to news agencies, but only once the final piece dropped. Patricia would deliver evidence to a retired senatorian who lost his grandson in a similar arms deal gone wrong. Ariana would make the final move, draw Marcus out with bait he couldn't ignore. That bait, a forged transmission claiming a rogue Navy informant had obtained the original Clean Wake documents scheduled for release in 72 hours. And the origin of the leak? Raul and Elena's daughter, alive and watching. Marcus would panic, he would scramble, and in that panic, he would make a mistake. Ariana would be waiting. Holloway Estate, July 20th, 8:00 p.m., dining room. The table was set with military precision. Crystal glasses, white linen, polished silver. Marcus Holloway believed in control, from the way he arranged his cutlery to the way he erased people. But tonight, he wasn't in control. Ariana was. She wore a navy blue dress, elegant, unthreatening, her hair tied back. No makeup, no weapon visible. You always liked this room, Marcus said, pouring her wine. It felt honest, she replied. Everything on display, he chuckled, sipping his glass. So, what made you come back, Ariana? You found your closure? She smiled softly. I found the truth. His eyes paused. And what truth is that? Underneath the table, taped to the thick oak base, was a hidden GoPro-style surveillance camera, streaming to Rafi and Maeve in real time, 450 miles away. Every word, every movement, every lie recorded. Ariana leaned back in her chair, letting the wine swirl in her glass. I know about Delgado and Clean Wake, and my mother's last night. Marcus's smile cracked. That was a long time ago. Funny, you remember it like yesterday. You're being emotional, and you're being recorded. Silence. He set the glass down. Then he leaned forward, eyes narrowing like a sniper sighting his target. You don't understand the stakes, Ariana. Enlighten me. He took a deep breath. Your father was an idealist. He thought if he exposed the Black Ops trafficking, someone would thank him, give him a medal. He was wrong. Ariana didn't flinch. So you murdered him. He was going to destroy the whole system, sink hundreds of operations. He left me no choice. And my mother? Your mother was reckless. She talked to reporters, investigators, even that fool Delgado. I had to intervene. At least I gave her peace. She didn't drown. He leaned in closer. She died, quietly. In the surveillance van 3 states away, Maeve wept. Rafi clenched his fist. Back at the table, Ariana's voice was ice. "You drugged her." "I sedated her. She was slipping. It was mercy." "She called for me." He tilted his head. "She screamed your name in her sleep sometimes. But I told her you were safe, that you'd moved on." She calmed down. Ariana's breath hitched. "You watched her fade for years and did nothing. I gave her comfort." "No, Marcus, you gave her silence." The camera recorded every word, every confession. Then Ariana stood. "I should burn this house to the ground." "So do it," he said calmly. "You won't." He stood too. "You think you're the first person who tried to take me down? You're playing checkers on a chessboard." She stepped closer, calm, controlled. "Funny, from where I'm standing, you're out of pieces." Suddenly sirens in the distance, getting closer. Marcus's phone buzzed. He looked down. His expression shifted. Ariana smiled. "Rafi just sent every file you ever buried to the FBI, DOD, and 3 of your biggest funders. And Maeve, she's giving an interview to CNN right now." Marcus dropped his phone. The screen shattered. "You think this ends with a press conference?" "No," Ariana said, walking toward the door. "It ends with you in handcuffs, or a coffin. Either works for me." Outside the estate, black SUVs, tactical vests, flashlights cutting through the night. FBI agents moved fast. Marcus looked out the window. "You betrayed your bloodline." "No," she whispered, opening the front door. "You did." As Marcus Holloway was dragged out in cuffs, screaming, the sea behind the house remained silent, just like Ariana Torres, but not anymore. 3 weeks later, Arlington National Cemetery, Plot 48, grave marker, Ariana Torres status, updated, verified. The sky was a soft gray, quiet and still. Ariana stood alone, hands clasped, a single white rose in her grip. She wore her dress blues. Her mother's navy dog tags now hung around her own neck. They had finally cleared Ariana Torres's name. The Navy had formally recognized her as a whistleblower, posthumously awarded her the Medal of Civilian Valor. The ceremony had been private at Ariana's request, because this wasn't about headlines. It was about justice. At the edge of the cemetery, Maeve Wilder watched silently. She wore black, holding a folded photo of her son, James. When Ariana approached her afterward, they didn't speak. They simply embraced 2 women bound by silence, loss, and now, triumph. "They won't bury the truth anymore," Ariana whispered. Maeve nodded, eyes misty. "They tried, but you made sure the sea gave it back." News coverage. 1 week earlier, headlines flashed across the country. Former Navy subcontractor Marcus Holloway arrested in federal sting. Clean wake operation exposed. Dozens indicted. Whistleblower's daughter sparks Pentagon oversight review. On national news, Rafi's forensic data, Layla's decrypted logs, and Maeve's testimony painted a chilling portrait of a decade-long Black Ops cover-up. Several high-ranking officers resigned. Private security firms were shut down. Families of victims began to receive letters, closure, apologies. And Marcus? He sat in federal custody, awaiting charges for conspiracy, murder, obstruction, trafficking, and treason. One final visit. Raul Torres's storage locker. Ariana opened the rusted roll-up door. Inside was her father's collection: nautical maps, journals, old Navy commendations, and one sealed envelope labeled, "In case I'm gone," and she comes looking. She opened it. Inside, a photo of young Ariana sitting on her dad's shoulders, a key and a note. "I always knew you'd dig, mi Estrella. Just promise me you won't lose your heart in the dark." Tears came then, not of pain, but of release. Layla transferred out of state. Maeve started a non-profit for military families. Rafi took a job at The Guardian. And Ariana? She resigned her commission. Not in shame, but in clarity. "I served long enough to understand what duty means, and what it doesn't." 1 month later, back at the ocean. Same cliffs, same waves, new winds. Ariana stood barefoot, letting the water touch her toes. She carried one final thing, a small box. She opened it. Inside, a compass. Raoul's old one. It still worked. She smiled. "You told me never to sail angry, Dad. I'm finally ready to go home." She dropped the compass into the waves and turned away from the past, ready to start over. Free. Location: Quantico Intelligence Facility. Classified Interrogation Unit. Date: July 25. Time: 7:16 a.m. The fluorescent lights buzzed above Marcus Holloway's interrogation room. He sat restrained to a steel table, hands trembling, though not from fear, from fury. Across from him stood a woman in civilian clothing, hair tied back, sleeves rolled, her expression unreadable. "Ariana, come to gloat?" he hissed, a crooked smirk on his face. "Came to confirm," she replied. "You're going to rot." "You think it's over?" She slid a folder onto the table. Slowly, deliberately. "This is everything your legal team didn't find. Offshore accounts, shell core, human trafficking logs, internal Navy communication records, and Delgado's full confession." Marcus blinked once, twice. "Delgado's dead. He was, then he wasn't. Then he was again." She leaned in, voice low. "He gave me everything before he died. You remember how messy a gunshot to the neck is?" Marcus didn't speak, but his hand twitched. Behind the glass, FBI Agent Carter turned to Rafi. "You're sure she's not going to kill him?" "She promised. Doesn't mean she won't terrify the hell out of him first." Back in the room, Ariana opened the folder and pulled out a final piece of paper. A passport. Marcus's, except the photo was shredded. Attempted escape to Malta under the alias Gerard Mason, caught in transit by Interpol. You never made it. "You don't understand," Marcus snarled, voice cracking. "I was protecting the system, keeping order in chaos. Do you think your precious Navy operates clean?" "No," Ariana said quietly. "But I also don't think protecting corruption is called loyalty. It's called cowardice." Later that day, Ariana's apartment. She looked over the encrypted hard drive again. There was one folder she hadn't opened. Folder name: Project Neptune. Ghost clearance: Omega Black. Link to Raul Torres, Elena Torres, and one other name. "No way," she clicked. The documents were unredacted. Secret Intelligence Memo, 2012. Subject: OP Neptune Ghost. Objective: use civilian trade routes to smuggle intel extraction targets from hostile waters. Compromise: Raul Torres threatened exposure. Countermeasure: terminate all internal whistleblower threats. Authorized by name redacted. Executive contact: M. Holloway. Addendum note: Handwritten. If Raul resists, neutralize via boating accident protocol. Elena too, if necessary. Ariana stared at the document, breath held. This wasn't just Marcus. This went all the way up. Raffi called. They're trying to bury the operation again. You need to leak it now. No, Ariana said. Not yet. I want the last one. The last what? The name that authorized it all. The one they still blacked out. Midnight. Back at Layla's hidden lab. The room glowed blue again. Layla tapped away, cracking layers of Pentagon-grade encryption. Raffi monitored the line from a secure VPN in Virginia. Maeve stood by with coffee and her late son's dog tags. They were close, too close. Thena blinking box. Decryption. 100%. Name revealed. Rear Admiral Nathan Ellison's silence filled the room. Maeve dropped her coffee. He gave the eulogy at my son's funeral. Layla leaned back, stunned. This guy's still active. He's sitting on the Navy's Defense Oversight Board. He's been signing billion-dollar clean contracts for years. We have him, Ariana whispered. She opened a new folder on her drive. Named it, For the Day the Truth Drowns No More. And then, she smiled for the first time in years. Location: Naval War Command, Washington, D.C. Date: July 30th. Time: 6:03 a.m. The sun had barely risen, but Rear Admiral Nathan Ellison was already in his office. That was his power. Move be first, leave last. Answer to no one. He didn't see the encrypted thumb drive tucked inside his schedule binder. He didn't know it had been planted by Layla, disguised as a janitor just hours before. And he didn't expect the file to open automatically the moment he logged into his system. The headline flashed across the screen. You authorized murder. The ocean remembers. Then came the footage. Delgado's confession. Marcus's recorded breakdown. Photos of Elena. Raul, Wilder. And at the end, Ariana's voice. Justice comes in waves, Admiral, and this one's a tsunami. Ellison staggered back from the desk. Across the city, live broadcast room, Maeve Studio Maeve Wilder stood before the camera. Posture firm, voice steady. Today, I share the truth the Navy buried. My son, Sergeant James Wilder, died trying to expose a black operation led by Admiral Ellison. Others were silenced. Families lied to. But now, we speak for them. Behind her, Raffi fed the visuals to live news streams. The story was everywhere within minutes. CNN, Reuters, Navy Times, Twitter, TikTok, Telegram, Discord. The whistle had been blown, and the world heard it. Back at the Pentagon, 7:01 a.m., Ellison's office door was kicked open. Admiral Ellison, step away from the computer! Navy Investigative Service swarmed in. He was dragged out, screaming, I protected this country. You have no idea what I've stopped. No one listened. Because the evidence was bulletproof, and Ariana had made sure of it. 10:45 a.m. Holloway detention block. Marcus Holloway sat watching the news unfold from a secured room. He didn't scream, he didn't pace, he just grinned, because deep down, he knew the empire was falling. But it was Ariana who had brought it down. Meanwhile, downtown D.C., Federal Courthouse, Ariana walked up the steps in civilian clothes. Beside her was Maeve. Behind them, Layla and Rafi. She turned to the cameras. "This is for my parents, for James Wilder, for everyone who vanished under someone else's silence. You can bury bodies, but you can't bury truth." Then she handed over a physical dossier, over 500 pages, directly to the federal special prosecutor. No agents, no aides. Just the truth, inside the envelope. Authorization slips, signed by Admiral Ellison, Clean Wake Protocols. Wire logs, kill orders, confession tapes. It was the largest military whistleblowing action in 40 years. And it was led by the daughter of the Navy's most silenced woman. Later that evening, Memorial Dock, Bar Harbor, Ariana stood on the same pier where Andromeda had once floated. This time, she wasn't carrying ashes. She was carrying her Navy insignia. She laid it gently into the sea. "You took enough from me, but not my future." She turned and walked away. Location: Arlington, Virginia. 3 days later. News headline: Hero or hacker? Navy whistleblower faces backlash. The media storm had turned, just as Layla predicted. Where once Ariana had been a rising symbol of truth, now came smear pieces, whispered leaks, and anonymous sources claiming she had falsified evidence. The usual game: "They're trying to paint you as a rogue operative," Rafi said, tossing the Washington Post onto the table. Headline: Elena's daughter or enemy of the state? Ariana didn't flinch. "They're trying to isolate me, discredit the whistleblower so the system stays intact." Layla sighed, rubbing her temples. "They've pulled your federal clearance. Your bank accounts are being audited. You're officially on 3 internal watch lists." "That's the price of the truth," Ariana muttered. But the truth wasn't what scared her. It was the silence from Marcus. Even in custody, he wasn't screaming anymore. He was waiting. That afternoon, anonymous call. Maeve picked up first. A disguised voice. "Tell her to stop, or the next leak won't be a file, it'll be blood." Then click. Layla traced the signal. Military-grade encryption, spoofed from 6 different locations. But one IP stood out. Langley, Virginia. "Someone in deep intel just warned us," Layla said, face pale. "And not because they're scared of Ariana, because they're scared of what she knows." Ariana met with an old friend, Commander Sarah Knox, an active duty intel officer Ariana once trained with. They met in a church parking lot at midnight. "You didn't hear this from me," Sarah said, slipping a burner phone into Ariana's pocket. "But Operation Trident Rebirth was activated 2 hours ago." "What is it?" "A buried fail safe. If a whistleblower causes too much risk to command, especially with foreign allies involved, they can be removed quietly, even without trial." "Assassination protocol," Sarah nodded grimly. "You just declared war on ghosts, Ari." That night, safe house underground bunker. Layla tripled the firewalls. Rafi called every trusted journalist they had. Maeve reactivated her late son's encrypted offshore backup. "We leak the full raw data now. All of it. Unredacted," Rafi said. "We go nuclear," Ariana agreed. "This will hurt people," Maeve warned. "Not just the guilty. Collateral is real." Ariana turned toward the old wallpapered pins in D.C., Norfolk, Diego, Garcia, Guantanamo, and Naples. Each pin marked a location connected to the Clean Wake network. "They burned my mother and framed my father. I'll take the fallout, but they will feel fire too." Midnight, Operation Pandora drop. launched across 5 continents. Trusted contacts received unfiltered drops, thousands of files, photos, transcripts, bank transfers, naval memos, voice logs, GPS coordinates, terminal maps, the kind of data no agency could refute. Meanwhile, inside Marcus's cell, he received a note under his food tray. No name, just a symbol. The trident. He smiled faintly. So they're waking the program after all. And he laughed, because he knew the more Ariana revealed, the more the shadows moved. Final scene, Ariana at her window alone. City lights outside, files on her desk, warnings in her phone, but in her eyes, not fear, just focus. "Come at me," she whispered. "I'll show you what a dead woman with nothing left to lose looks like." Location: somewhere near Chesapeake Bay. 2:14 a.m. Status: off the grid. The moon hung low, casting silver across the black water. A lone fishing boat drifted silently across the inlet. Ariana crouched beneath a tarp, breath controlled, every muscle tight. This wasn't a mission, this was survival. Trident rebirth had begun. Flashback: 48 hours earlier, private airport hangar, Virginia. Layla had caught the signal. Encrypted pulse from naval intelligence pinged off a black Severno identifiable source, except a ghost signature linked to Ellison's old team. "Meaning?" Ariana asked. "Meaning someone greenlit your termination," Rafi interrupted. "Assassination, sanctioned. Probably contracted out to keep it off books." Maeve paled. "You need to disappear now. Now." Chesapeake hideout. Ariana lay low, communications dark. She'd abandoned all traceable gear, destroyed her primary phone, and accessed an old Cold War bunker last used during a 2012 training exercise. The signal jammers inside blocked all location tracking. But she couldn't hide forever, because she had one final move to make. One last domino. Meanwhile, Langley, Virginia CIA Sub-Operations Vault, codename Eco-7. 2 masked operatives reviewed a dossier. Target: Torres. Ariana threat level: Tier 1 protocol. Silent interdiction timeline. Immediate team: Spectre cell. One of them paused, reading a redacted line. "She already triggered Pandora drop. Then we kill her before she triggers Black Wave." "Too late," the other replied. "She set it to auto-release." "Then what the hell are we still doing?" "We eliminate the witness, not the evidence. That's how control survives." Back in the bunker, Ariana's message begins recording. She pressed record on a secure off-grid camcorder. If you're watching this, it means the US military chose silence over truth again. She paused, her voice cracked, but she didn't stop. "They killed my parents. They buried my past." Back in Montana, Ariana heard the crunch of snow. She was already behind cover before the first shadow reached the cabin door. 3 men, military stance, suppressed weapons, not cops, not amateurs. Trident. The moment the laser cut across the cabin window, Ariana fired first. Her warning shot shattered the lantern, plunging them all into darkness. Bang, bang, thud. One man dropped before he could reach the porch. The second fired wildly, too loud, too messy. She dropped him in one smooth counter. The third tried to run. Ariana caught him in the thigh. "Wait, don't shoot, I'm not with them." She paused. The man dropped his weapon, hands raised, his voice cracked. I was inserted to infiltrate, but I never agreed to kill a whistleblower. Name, she demanded. Petty Officer Aaron Stiles. Cyber, Intel, Reserve. He winced. I only took the job because they told me you were a traitor, that you'd leaked operations to foreign agencies. But it's not true, is it? No, Ariana said flatly. But your bosses lied for a living. She dropped a med pack by his leg. Use it. Crawl to the woods. If you come back with anyone else, I'll bury you with them. Later that night, Layla's remote feed Layla. They activated Rebirth through a private defense contractor out of Virginia. Not even Dodd. Connected. Full deniability. They're rogue, Rafi. I've posted video footage of the attempted assassination on Reddit, Twitter, Signal, everywhere. Framed it like a deep state cover-up, Ariana. That's because it is one, Layla. This isn't about files anymore, Ari. This is about survival. They'll come again, stronger, smarter. Ariana leaned into the feed. Then I'll take the fight public. The next day, Boston, Massachusetts Live Naval Defense Forum, global broadcast event. It was supposed to be a clean PR event. Admirals, contractors, press, until the screens froze, mid-speech and a face appeared. Ariana, broadcasting from a secure, remote satellite link. To the American people, you've been lied to by those who said they served you, who said they protected you. Rear Admiral Ellison authorized the murder of whistleblowers. Marcus Holloway ran a trafficking ring inside the Navy. Others helped him. This is not a conspiracy theory. This is documented fact. I'm Ariana Torres, daughter of 2 silenced patriots, survivor of Rebirth, and I'm still standing. If they kill me now, good. It means I was right. She dropped a final line that would go viral. This is your Navy on silence. This is your country on secrets. Choose truth or drown in it. Then the feed cut. By midnight, the internet erupted. We hear Ariana. Navy silence. Operation Rebirth exposed. Civil rights groups called for Senate hearings. Veterans posted their own stories. Maeve's full documentary aired on a pirate signal, 2.3 million views in 9 hours. But Ariana? She vanished again, because she knew the final move was coming. The world was burning with questions. Where was Ariana Torres? Some claimed she'd been assassinated in a CIA accident. Others said she fled to Iceland. Rumors swirled about a plastic surgery escape and a ghost account that kept leaking classified files every 72 hours. The truth? She was still alive. And she was not done. Layla's last broadcast upload, titled The Final Tape from Ariana, duration 14 minutes, published via a secure multi-jump relay across 5 countries. The video begins. Ariana sits in a plain chair, a dim light, no makeup, no polish, just truth. Her voice is calm, strong, but tender. If you're watching this, I might be gone. Or I might be walking through your neighborhood wearing a hoodie, pretending to be someone else. But either way, my story has reached you. She places 3 photos on the table. Raul Torres, Elena Torres, James Wilder. They believed in duty. In truth, they were silenced. I believed in the system until I realized the system only protects itself. And if you think I did all this for revenge, you're wrong. She leans closer to the camera. I did it so no other daughter has to bury the truth with her parents. What follows is a 3-minute slideshow. Photos of whistleblowers around the world. Screenshots of leaked kill orders. Transcripts of Trident rebirth protocols. Confessions from dying. Operatives. All synced to soft piano. Ariana's voice returns. They made me a ghost, but they forgot one thing. Ghosts haunt, and I'm going to haunt every corrupted system that thinks blood is cheaper than truth. The final reveal. She opens a file folder labeled Trident Backup Archive 3.2 TB and slides it toward the camera. Every dirty op, every name, every account, every chain of command. It's all here. If I go silent, this becomes public. If I'm killed, this gets sent to every major news outlet and international court. If I disappear, you keep it alive. Then she looks up directly into the lens. You can't kill a dead woman. You can't erase a name that's already carved in the conscience of a country. You can silence a body, but you cannot silence a movement. She smiles for the last time. I am Ariana Torres, and I'm just getting started. Video ends. Upload locks file to auto-forward every 7 days until manually cancelled. Aftermath. 1 month later, Rear Admiral Ellison is found guilty in a closed-door military trial. Marcus Holloway dies in custody. Suicide, though few believe it. Congress announces a new Whistleblower Protection Oversight Act. Maeve launches the Wilder Foundation, helping families of silenced service members. Rafi is hired by the International Criminal Court's cybersecurity team. Layla vanishes from public records entirely. And Ariana? But no one could prove anything, because Ariana Torres was no longer a person. She was an idea. And ideas? They don't die. Beside her stands a woman in a faded hoodie. She says nothing. Some truths drown slowly. Some wounds bleed under the skin. But vengeance is not violence. It's revelation. It's giving the dead their names back. It's silence breaking open like thunder. This is for my mother, for the lives they buried, and for every daughter who learns too late what her family was hiding. If this story gave you chills, tears, or even the justice you were waiting for, don't forget to like, share, and most importantly, subscribe to Funny Fun, where emotional thrillers, revenge, and raw truth come together. Comment below. Would you forgive a family member who betrayed you this deeply? Or would you burn everything like Ariana? Turn on the bell because you won't want to miss what's coming next. Thanks for watching Funny Fun Revenge Stories. See you tomorrow with another revenge story.